Hello. So I don't actually know what day it is. I know what day it is, but I don't know what day in this process it is because I took bank holiday Monday off from doing anything. I spent the day with my family, which was amazing. And Tuesday, I think I meant to do a video, but we were up to Brighton. I think I did one on Tuesday actually. I think I managed to catch up somewhere, or Wednesday maybe. So I started one on Thursday, that's what happened, and I have a video of that, so I might put that one up anyway. Yeah, I will. I will probably attach it to this one because it was a bit of a different mood on Thursday. In fact, since Wednesday evening, things have kind of dramatically changed. More so on Thursday and Friday. So basically, as I've said throughout these videos, my first big role was as the musical director of a big music charity for children. And I've been running that for now 12 years with my best friend, Charlie. And it's grown and grown and grown to a point of huge success. You know, the last funding stream that we received was for £75,000 from youth music. People believe in us. And we had the biggest celebration concert of our 10th year back in 2000, beginning of 2018? 2017, I can't remember when it was now. But something happened. As soon as that concert happened, I feel like now, upon reflection, I feel like it was the end. Like it had reached its peak. And then I took on the role at Waterbear. So it would have been at the beginning of 2008, our last concert, sorry, January. So I took on my role at Waterbear in the April, and then I began properly in September. Now, it was a really, really great move for me because the charity itself had grown and grown and grown. But what happened was it had grown to such a point where Charlie and I were now expected to be the managers of everything. So sidestepping from a creative teaching role where I was at the front with the kids and the adults conducting and doing all the music side of things, and then being asked to relieve that pressure and give that to other people to run so that I could step into more of a managerial role, at first felt like the right move next. It felt like the next best thing for me in terms of progression. But I'm not trained to be a manager. I don't have any HR skills. I don't know how to line manage people. We have no contracts in place. There was nothing like that. So it wasn't just that. I was still expected to teach some of the group stuff, which I loved and hadn't realised quite how much I loved until I stopped doing it. And also manage, you know, a half of the organisation and do feedback and evaluations, which kind of meant that I wasn't needed to teach, but I'd still need to be there at all those things. So actually, no pressure was alleviated at all whatsoever. I managed to help a couple of our other tutors take on the role. And for what it's worth, they're young and they do not have teaching experience. They've only got teaching experience through us. And I think they get a really, really hard time for their efforts, shall we say. No one's had any training. I mean, we can put in you know, kind of training to support them how we run things. But actually, I don't think it's training in the way that we teach things that they need. I think it's general, overall, what people go to college and university for when it comes to things like teaching. No, I didn't go to college and university to teach, and I didn't learn those things, but I did have 3 years experience, hard experience as a youth worker, working with challenging young people and the police. So discipline and the way to handle certain situations, safeguarding, how to kind of, command your room and your audience and your young people and engagement did stem from that. And I learned a great deal. And I got put on training courses, so I had that background. And then I also began teaching in 2003. And we didn't begin UVG until 2008. So before that time, I'd been in the classroom. So I'd been a classroom music teacher, extracurricular. So I had a lot of experience under my belt. And then even when we started in 2008, right up until now, I'm still teaching. So I've had an extensive amount of classroom experience and youth worker background. So I have already got a head start on these people. These young people were just members of UVG. And what they know is what they love. And when things don't quite go the same way that they can remember it, as in when I taught it to them, it can leave them sad. And it can leave them sad and often bitter. And the first thought is, why are we getting it wrong? And then it can turn to a little bit of anger, like, oh, we're doing the best we can and we're not instructed the right way. And so you can see why these problems snowball. These problems didn't snowball for me because I had no one else above me. And it was literally just me creating stuff, going with it and working out what was successful and what wasn't. Now, these young people, these are our tutors, they have something above them and a way of working that's been brilliant for them. So I can see why it's sensitive and why it's struggling in certain areas. No one's doing anything wrong. It's just we haven't learnt yet how to implement getting it right and kind of like getting it out there to them. So anyway, on more than one occasion, I would say every week for the last 6-7 months, if not longer, Charlie has been very, very unwell. Like, stress levels are through the roof. And seeing him suffer and seeing his stress levels to a degree where he can't even get out of bed through worry. First of all, the worry was whether or not we'd get the funding and we'd be able to sustain the charity past February. And then we got the funding and then it was, shit, we have to sustain the charity. And it was hard because if we didn't get awarded the money, it would have been easier for us to say, oh, what a shame. We didn't get awarded the money, but we had 10 great years. Let's go out on a high. But we got awarded the money and everyone was waiting for the next move whilst our organisation had begun to suffer because I had then taken on another job. Now, my other job was supposed to be a way of creating a great connection for things like UVG and for some of my students, a really nice link with a reputable kind of education provider, a really, really great natural step. But what it did is it took me away from the charity for a lot more of my time than I had bargained for because just like UVG, where I haven't had any managerial training or background or knowledge of how to become the manager, I was given a position at Waterbear where suddenly I was on management level in terms of managing courses, students, creating the content that they will be learning from, marking, you know, essential work that is actually going to count towards their final grades, and learning a marking scheme, and you know, and all of it had to be videoed, and then changes had to be made because we started an online course, so some of it had to be tweaked. The 2 days a week that I have been crammed into in Waterbear because they understood that I had other commitments and they were honouring me those things. It wasn't 2 days, it's more like 5 because of the amount of stuff that I need to get in and actually get my head in, like in terms of marking and validating someone's work and creating course content that matches the outcomes of, you know, the aims, objectives and outcomes of what the course provider is expecting to see. They're really, really hard. It's not something that I can switch onto and be like, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing here. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm learning what I'm doing and I like what I'm doing. I also saw Waterbear as something that I could now do for the rest of my life, you know, be involved with. And not that I wouldn't have been involved with UVG, but I probably wouldn't have been the musical director or somebody waving my arms about at 45, 50 years old, because it's supposed to be a young person's vocal group. You know, I don't know quite how I've managed it to nearly 39 years old, to be fair. But with Waterbear, there was a career progression for me. So as much as I thought I was splitting myself between my two loves, I wasn't. And I haven't given the charity what it needs in terms of support. And I've dropped the ball, and I also left my friend carrying everything. So I have to take responsibility for that, but it was also highly unintentional. You know, it was kind of a, well, actually I was encouraged in a really, really great way by Charlie and by my husband and by my mum and everybody around me. They saw an amazing opportunity for me and actually thought, yes, you know, this is something you've been recognised for and almost kind of a bit headhunted for. They liked me on the back of UVG and everything that UVG have done. And that's what got me that position. I just didn't realise how much focus it would take away from the charity. So fast forward a few months, Charlie has deteriorated. His mental health and stress levels are just ridiculous. He's on his own. He likes me as a friend too much to tell me, honestly, what the hell is happening. And also, you know, I think in my heart of hearts, right up until maybe a couple of weeks ago, I still thought I could manage it. I still thought when the summer comes, I'm not teaching as much, I'll be back in the room, it'll be great. But it's not like that. You know, September is going to be a huge, huge step for me because it's the first time I'll be managing a department or trying to manage a department. I've got to learn how to manage a department yet. And I've got lots of marking and lots of course content to create. When it comes to my masters, I haven't even been able to give my second thought to a masters. And actually, both my mentor and my boss at Waterbear have actually suggested that I pause that and pick it back up next year. I don't know what the implications are fully of this yet, but I'm going to look into it because look at me. I'm tired, I'm exhausted. And in short, I have had to hand in my resignation with the charity. And it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible thought, but one that will save our organisation. Now, it's a really, really weird thing because I know deep down inside, Charlie will probably not want me to carry on, not want to carry on without me, because I think out of loyalty, he'll probably think that. But at the same time, if there's any glimmer of hope of it carrying on at the moment, because you know, the Board of Governors are very, very on it. They meet all the time. They're chatting about our future and our fate. I believe they are. And I don't think we're far off having the plug pulled on us, even though we sustained a great amount of funding. Because it's unstable. And I think that a lot of that comes down to me. And I think a lot of that comes down to Charlie's health and well-being. But I think the best thing, if they can save it, if there is a glimmer of hope for it, and I truly believe there is, and I also believe that the young people deserve it, you know, it's been going for a long time, then I think the best option actually is to lose me completely. And although I am the face of UVG, and I've been running it and waving my arms at the front and taking those kids to amazing places, I think the best way forward is to lose me. I think they'll save money. I don't think I'm delivering a good enough job. I don't think my presence is as felt as needs to be. I was there sort of like 3-4 days a week before and the weekends with the gigs. Now I'm barely managing one day, and because I've handed over lots of responsibility, there is actually no point for me to be at the gigs because they've got their own tutors now and they've got their own things going on. So actually, I don't actually think I'm needed anymore. I think I will be missed. And I think it'll be hard for some people to imagine me that I'm not there, more so me than anyone else. But I think with time and me leaving, it will give them a chance to rebuild what they need to in order for it to move forward. And then hopefully later on I'll be able to pop back in more of an ambassador role and kind of come and support them and shout about them and maybe do one-off workshops or something. I think that you visualise, you know, like kind of those sci-fi films, like got to save the universe. Someone's got to sacrifice himself and go in with the bomb. I feel like I'm the bomb. I feel like if I let it off and let the devastation kind of happen, then actually what will happen is it will rebuild in the right way. I don't think necessarily they need another musical director. I think that each tutor could probably take ownership of their group, but they'd need some sort of direction. And I genuinely feel like somebody could come in and just coordinate them and just make them make sure that things like the feedback are done and that they know that they've got a tutor session together, and doesn't necessarily need a musical director to create all the parts. They've all got amazing skills. And there's a lot of material that has been created prior to me departing. So I think my role, funnily enough, when I was working as a youth worker, I remember due to cutbacks they had this massive cull of staff, and you think it's the smaller people underneath that would be the ones at the first out, but it's not. If they can consolidate any of the top kind of ranking people and incomes, I mean, to be fair, my income, I don't need to talk money, but it's less than a part-time wage. Although I was on an okay wage when I was there full-time, I still needed to be a self-employed musician on the side. I still needed to bulk up my income. But I took a massive pay cut when I started Waterbear. And I don't really think it's about the money necessarily. I know that it will save them money, but I think it's more about just the quality of what's coming out of us. So, yeah, they, my last job as a youth worker, they consolidated loads of roles and they took out loads of management, and we were all very, very shocked. But it worked without them, and the foundations had been laid, and people were able to pick it up and save, a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of pain. And I think that has happened to me. What it does do is it does allow me to pursue, rather than take on something new, make more of the things that I have taken on. So, for instance, Waterbear, I feel like I can give more of myself. I feel like I'll get a better job done. The worry won't be there so much. Hopefully I'll be able to take on more paid work with them. I'm not suggesting that I'd need to, but it will mean that I've lost half an income, so I will have to do more work because I'm self-employed. So hopefully if I can get more work within the organisation that I want to spend more time with, then that's beneficial to me. But until that day, I'll just be kind of freelancing it, gigging to within an inch of my life. So, but I love that, it's good fun and it's great money and it's sustainable for me. So that is the harsh reality right now. It's like finally accepting that your baby has grown up, doesn't need you to support it anymore, but might need a visit to do its washing every now and then. That's basically it, It's not goodbye, as in I've been kicked out. It's more, I can't do anything for it anymore. So I've got to let it grow up. And that's it in a nutshell. So that has been my realisation this week. I will know more on Monday when I have a meeting and I put this across to people about the changes. But I don't want to see it as a failure. I do feel currently like I failed them. But I need to retrain my brain so that I don't feel like I failed them, that actually I think I might have helped them in a way, kind of. Well, I've helped them now after the devastation has kind of ripped through. But I didn't really realise how much of an impact me not being around would have on both myself, them, the organisation, the foundations, and also my best mate Charlie, who's been left holding the babies. Like a very bad, painful divorce. But we're still best mates, so that's great. And I think this is probably the best thing that will save our friendship as well. So, now what to do with myself?